Good morning. I love you. Aren't we captured by that phrase? Oh, we're going to talk about that today. But I wonder if any of you know how many times the word love appears in the Bible. Any guesses? 1,000. Ooh, if only. A good guess. And I imagine if you added up all the forms of love, it would be a substantial expression, because I think that's the underlying message of the Bible. If you strip everything away, what you're left with is a message of law in the Old Testament, God's law, and love in the New Testament, the New Covenant. Do you remember the passage last week? The law and the prophets and everything else is commentary. Just everything else is like, oh yes, let's add that too. But if we start with love your neighbor as yourself, love God with all your heart, and let that essence move through you into the world, then you will have captured the life-empowering, life-transforming message. And the answer to that question is, it depends on which version of the Bible, and probably which researcher did the counting. But I found a source that says the King James Version talks about love 442 times. The New American Standard Bible is 479. English Standard Version amped it up some more to 684. But one of my favorite translations is The Message, which is a contemporary translation that just gets down to the nitty-gritty of the message. And it counts 611 times. Now, I think that's a Bible I want that uses love and however many expressions of that as much as possible, so that I permeate my consciousness with that message. That's my choice. Now, the ancient Greeks knew that there were a variety of expressions of love, and they, unlike our usual habit in our culture, they had different terms describing different kinds of love. Storge is that empathy and that familial love that creates a bond between people. Philia is brotherly love, or the love between friends. You probably could have guessed that, knowing that Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love. Eros is romantic love. I'm kind of fond of that little guy who shoots his arrows. Yeah, that holiday that we're about to celebrate, or that our economy has turned into great cause for celebration and great financial benefit. And finally, there's agape, the unconditional love of God that flows to us and we are charged to express into the world for one another. Agape encompasses all the forms of love. There is a unity book written by William Warch, How to Use Your 12 Gifts from God. In Unity, we have this system developed by our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, that allows us to focus on the God qualities that are innate within us, raise them in our consciousness, raise them into the divine level, and combine them and balance them all together. And we are then living in the Christ essence, the true nature of our sacred self. Mr. Warch said this: love is the ability to know our oneness. Love is the ability to desire that only good comes to everyone. Love creates harmony and flow in life between all things and all people. That sounds pretty good definition of this divine essence of love. Our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, he said, love is the power that binds together the whole human family. Not just you and me as friends and church community people and those in our circle that we love and in our family, but the whole human family. That's the magnetizing power of love. He also said, in divine mind, that essence of God, love is the power that binds in divine harmony the universe and everything in it. It is the great harmonizing principle known to man. There is no force in the energy greater than the power of love, which is synonymous with the essence of God when we elevate it to that divine level of agape. All too frequently, we are standing in love only from our human understanding. And I got to own, I am all about that romance aspect of love. Romantic cards, flowers, chocolate, and champagne, love songs. I'm over the moon currently with a young guy named Ed Sheeran and his poetry and love songs. How can a 20-something-year-old write such insightful love poetry? I'm just, yeah. And rom-com movies, I am the queen of rom-com movies. I've seen Netflix beginning to end, let me tell you. I love grand gestures. I love small, thoughtful details, receiving and giving them. But there is a reason that we call it romantic comedy, because in our human sense, we often get it all tangled up and we misunderstand the intention of this divine essence of love and how it can add to the romance in our life. And, I've been blessed literally to live my own rom-com story. Some of you have heard me talk about The Husband. We met on a blind date. We very quickly got together. We got married 4 years later on that same anniversary, and we lived 19 years of rich love. Now, make no mistake, there were plenty of soap opera-worthy drama moments in our relationship, but we continued that journey trusting in the power of love that had brought us together, and we surmounted some quite extraordinary examples of marital difficulty to come into the place where we understood the idea that we began with, that we were soulmates, that we had been brought together for some sort of larger purpose, a sacred purpose, and we were willing to commit to that in the face of, our own stupidity in our relationship. And so I richly enjoy the romance part of love, but I also understand that we are called to elevate beyond that in our fullest expression of love. To really give the gift of who we are into the world is to draw on the love at the depth of our being that flows into us from God. But those three little words have immense power in our lives, don't they? We want to hear them. We love to say them. Well, the first time the husband said, "I love you," I choked. I gasped, and I literally couldn't say anything, and I was in great fear that he was going to stand up abruptly and dump me on the floor because I didn't respond appropriately. Thankfully, I think he saw the deer in the headlights look on my face, and he just paused, and then he continued talking until I could recover and deliver something. I don't even remember what I said. The shock of the moment is still what I hold on to, but thank you for the power of love and compassion and empathy that he could just let that conversation continue. It was a conversation that continued for 19 amazing years. Yes, plenty of soap opera drama along the way. It was definitely the PhD level of elevating love from this human, it's all gooey stuff, into a place that was solid and deep and rich. And it took work. But both kinds add to our life. All four kinds of love, as the Greeks understood it, add to the depth and the richness of our life. And still in our spiritual journey, when we are willing to develop our awareness of love in the aspect of its divine nature, we raise our experience from those often ridiculous moments to the sublime quality that love is. And it does encompass all expressions. The love of the community you share together, the love of your family, the love of a special partner. Whatever it is, we move in a greater level when we can hold this idea that divine love is an energy that binds us all together and creates harmony in our lives. Now, we humans, we've been designed with both a thinking nature and a feeling nature. And in unity principle, we understand that we are given access to both, and what serves us most effectively is to have some balance between these two aspects of our nature. If we are overly centered in our thinking nature, we may cut off the part that develops compassion and empathy and kindness and caring at a great level for others. We get all locked into the intellectualism, and I'm all about the intellectual process as well. But if we cut ourselves off from the feeling nature, we are not living a complete life. And conversely, if we get all wrapped up in our feeling nature, we may be given to flighty escapades of emotionalism and still lack balance, but on the other side of the feeling, thinking nature spectrum. The balance we seek is what aids our journey to becoming Christ-like, to live fully in these spiritual gifts that we celebrate every month. And if I didn't say it and you haven't guessed, February is the month of love, this divine essence of who we are, that we can expand that, come to balance with that, and receive all the gifts that divine love contains. Now, still all about romantic love over here in my life, and I do not denigrate at all our need for feeling love and for receiving and giving it. In the human experience, romance is something that makes life very sweet. Love between friends and family, also the sweetness of life. And we continue to experience that in all the stages of life. Romance is not meant only for the 20-somethings that are often portrayed in Hallmark movies. No, it's for all of us, as is this gift of divine love. You can know when you are in that arena of divine love, when you've moved beyond emotion, beyond the thinking and feeling nature, you know that you have come to stand in a place where the love you feel and the love you desire to express, there are no conditions on how that energy flows between you and another, between you and the object of your love. You do not need it to look any certain way. You are willing to allow it to evolve and to just be present. That other person doesn't have to show up in any particular way, meeting your expectations of how you need to be loved, but you can simply receive the gift that they bring and they offer you. When we let go of the need to change other people and respond in the way that feels perfect to us, we open the door of divine love. We begin to experience what it is to be in that spiritual territory of love, that divine expression. And we can be simply grateful for that presence and movement of love within us. No expectations have to be satisfied because we realize that this divine love has a sacred purpose to illuminate this idea of oneness. Oneness with ourselves, oneness with others, certainly oneness with God and all that is created in the cosmos. When we can touch into that space and experience that in the world, we know that God is expressing everywhere all the time. We see the face of God in our fellow church members. We see God in our cherished friends. We see God in our partners in life and our partners in holy mischief. I like those partners a lot. Partners in holy mischief. When we are there interacting anywhere in our life, we can choose consciously to see that other person in this circumstance through the eyes of God and see them as the face of God. In these last 2 years, just moving about in the world can seem fraught with tension and stress. And so when you're in the grocery store and the clerk is ringing you up, maybe you can remember when they make a mistake that they're doing their best and that they too are the expression of God and the expression of love. When you are quite content to drive at posted speed on the highway, and somebody is not so happy with that circumstance and flies around you and gives you a friendly, hand gesture greeting, maybe you can remember that person is the face of God. and just radiate that essence of love in their direction, hoping they scoop it up as they pass you by. Everything and everyone, there are no exceptions to this truth, is the expressed energy of God. God is visible through nature, through humans, through every single one of us. And God shows up in this world not in some cloud of smoke and not in this century that I'm aware of as a pillar of fire, but it shows up in us, as us, and through us into the world. Maybe when we have the opportunity to look at that person living on the street and wonder at their erratic actions, whether they might benefit from pharmaceutical help, maybe instead we can see that God is in their eyes too. A number of weeks ago, I had an experience walking to church. Walking to church. And I was going down the sidewalk, and a woman was coming toward me who was screaming, shouting, cursing at the top of her lungs. And I thought, bless this person. And then as she got closer to me, she would lunge at whoever passed her by. And I admit I became a little fearful. And I thought, I'm going to remember this person is a divine being. But her continued behavior approaching me was increasingly erratic. And instead of remembering it at the moment it counted, I shouted back at her. My brain said, here's a way to interrupt it. And I shouted at her. And as she went on by, I stood still and said, oh, I have not lived my belief today. And I ran after her, touched her shoulder, and asked what she needed in that moment. Now, it was not a fruitful conversation, but I recovered the truth of my knowing that my job is to show up as love. I don't have anything else to do in this world. It is not my job to fix. Maybe there's nothing I can do in that moment, and there wasn't, but I can treat her with respect. I can radiate love just as we stood there for 15 seconds. I can be that presence of God. I was humbled to know how quickly I can forget that I have a sacred mission to be the face of love in every moment. Maybe I can remember to bring that when I'm in a disagreement with a colleague or a friend and cannot seem to find some path to mutual understanding. But if I can see the God essence in their eyes, and I can express empathy and understanding, we might be able to override any frustration that has built up in the conversation. We can use this energy of love to heal hurts in relationships that have gone fallow, where we have injured or been injured by another. If we just hold that person in our imagination, wrapped in a cushion of love, those relationships can be healed. Maybe they will not come back to the former condition in which you experienced them, but the animosity or the fear or the discomfort can dissolve in the face of love. The greatest harmonizing energy known to humankind, said Mr. Fillmore, when we employ it from this elevation of its divine essence. When we begin to recognize this common spiritual denominator of love in all people and in everything, we strengthen our spiritual sight and our knowing, because we don't always see this face of love with our human sight. We need this spiritual understanding to see beyond whatever is going on in the moment, whatever unlovely behavior another person has, especially whatever unlovely behavior I might be showing up with. When we can move beyond that, we are cultivating love that can bring us to this divine understanding of our oneness with all beings, our oneness with the beauty of the nature of this planet, oneness with ourself, our own heart, oneness with everything, and certainly oneness with God. We can transcend the outer differences and find connections in the compassionate presence of oneness. So, how do we get ourselves out of the romance movie, Hallmark card, Valentine's Day kind of love, that often constrained and conditional expression of love? We begin to think thoughts of divine love. If you meditate, just focus on the presence of love. While you're walking and passing people on your path, just kind of smile and have a thought in your inner mind that you radiate love to each one. That you radiate the energy of love to nurture the nature that you're passing through, as well as you absorb that love that emanates from nature into your own being. Before you go to sleep at night, let your last thoughts be about something, someone you love. Radiate the presence of love. When you get out of bed in the morning, before your feet hit the floor, let your first thoughts be centered in God's love. Love for you, love for others. That's how you create the energy that elevates love in your life. To focus on it. Allow it to become something you are consciously aware of. You simply center in your heart and you affirm these powerful words. I am love. I am love. I am love. I know this is difficult. Let's practice, shall we? So you know what to do tonight when you go to bed. If you choose, place your hand on your heart and say quietly, I am love. I am love. I am love. Repeat it until you feel that sense of God flowing into you. Till it cracks open that intellectual thinking nature and allows the feeling, expressing energy of love to permeate your mind, to center in your heart, and to radiate throughout your body and your energy field. Think thoughts of love. That's how we cultivate our greater understanding of spiritual love. We also can speak with love, speak about love, speak to love, this divine sense of love. Let that flow in all of our words. You can speak kindness to strangers. I kind of like to joke with whoever's serving me, the cashier at the grocery store, the waitress in a restaurant. Be kind, especially now when interactions can be fraught with tension. To work in any form of customer service these days might be filled with challenge. I intend not to be somebody's challenge for the day. I intend to be somebody's blessing for the day. Even when I fall short, I ask myself to remember that I came here to be the presence of love, and it's as simple as speaking words of appreciation or words of good humor and good nature. I often think, I have several friends and family members who are nurses, and I often think how difficult it is to work in that environment. So if I were to be at the hospital, the medical center, having a doctor's appointment, I am wanting to give them a sense of regard, a sense of respect and honor for all that they are doing, all efforts to keep us healthy. There's a young man who sits outside the entrance of one of my favorite restaurants, and all he does is check your Vax card, your temperature, and put a little band on you that you have been admitted. Can you imagine the grief he might get from time to time? And so I just laugh and smile and thank him for doing all he is doing to keep us safe. Have you traveled off island or between islands lately? And if you're not traveling yet, you've probably read the news to know that Airlines can be a difficult place to be at some moments. So I've been fortunate enough this past year to travel to the mainland several times. I make it my mission to smile, to compliment, to give words of appreciation to everybody from the moment I leave home till the moment I arrive at my destination. The agent that checks me in at the desk, the porter who might help me for luggage, the people who have to deal with the security clearance, the person who's doing the boarding at the airport, every attendant on the plane that I might interact with, the Uber driver that gets me to my final destination. They all get my words of good cheer. Even if it's a difficulty going on, I center and say, this is a moment where love can flourish and harmonize this difficulty. I intend that to be my way of moving in the world. So offer your words, your gifts of appreciation to all those people that you connect with. In our thinking, in our words, and in our action, we can choose to express divine love. A writer has said, the purest action of love is living true to your own heart. Acts of kindness will reveal the love you are, as well as acts of giving. Positive acts of kindness not only are a gift to the one who receives them, but they impact our well-being tangibly. They shape our experience in the world and lead us to a higher understanding of the presence of love. Because this love is our true nature. We don't have to go searching for it very far. All we have to do is recognize that it radiates from God into and through and as us as soon as we make a conscious decision to connect with that energy of love. It is our true nature. And once we begin to truly give to others in our lives, that energy of generosity creates a reciprocity. All that we give comes back to us, and it enhances our own well-being. It magnifies our own prosperity of love, of well-being, of health, of wholeness. You can magnify anything that you desire in your life by radiating the energy of love. So let your love flow freely and let it reveal its remarkable, amazing, and spectacular power through your thoughts, your words, your daily actions. We love to hear those powerful 3 little words, I love you. Yet the divine presence of 3 little words that can lift our experience from that sometimes mixed bag that is love expressed only from our human personality, but raise it to the love that transcends our human foibles and condition. That power rests in 3 small but mighty words. I am love. I invite you to take a breath with me and center into the very essence of your being, that heart muscle, that heart region in your body. As you draw in a deep healing and cleansing breath and release it fully, know that that life-giving activity of God, your breath, is moving through your heart into your whole being. Just see that in your inner vision. That the whole of the centered energy of God in you breathes you. And as you let your breath center into a quiet and natural rhythm, on this day before the day we mark as the day of love, bring someone into your mind, into your heart, someone you care for. And just simply let that energy of love flow in your imagination from God filling you, from your heart to their heart. If you see their eyes, see that presence of God as them, equally as you. breathe and let that feeling of love radiate and expand in your heart. Know that energy of love moves through every system of your body. All of your cells are alive with love. Your blood is the movement of God's love. Everything is alight with that sweet energy, love. And you gratefully and generously share it with this person you hold in your mind in this moment. Feel the power of unconditional, unlimited, sacred purpose, love. And say thank you in your heart for the opportunity to bless that one you love, and know that if they were there in front of you, you would probably receive that same gift. Easily happens in our mind, this exchange of the energy of love. Easily, effortlessly, gracefully. And it begins with this flow and movement that is the love of God. And to fully meet that essence in your heart, I invite us to rest for a moment in God's love in the silence.